To our council meeting tonight for October 2023. And just before we start, just say we reflect back on the last month of life in Kentish, and I think, you know, the school holidays have just happened, and I think that's been good. The council did provide some activities for the children, and I know that Councillor Lane went down to the outdoor cinema at Louth, and that was a great success. I'd just like to mention the museum, of course. There's been meetings down there with the new curator, so we're really happy that that's moving along really nicely. And also today, the General Manager and I went to the RSL because Dementia Australia had an information day down there today. And so people were able to go in there and get any information that they needed, and they had actual sessions where members of the public could go and just learn a little bit more about signs of dementia if they have any concerns with any family members or any neighbours or friends that they might know. So it was very worthwhile, and we worked with them in being able to find a venue for them, and so they were very happy with that, and very happy that the General Manager and I called in and were able to acknowledge the work that they're doing in the area of dementia. So that was great today. So we'll start our meeting with apologies and leave of absence, but we don't have any tonight. Declaration of pecuniary and conflicts of interest. I'll just remind councillors, if they have a pecuniary or a conflict of interest, please fill in the form and give it to Mrs. Shaw. We have the confirmation of minutes from the ordinary meeting that was held on the 19th of September. We have a recommendation that the minutes of the ordinary meeting of the Kentish Council held at the council meeting Sheffield on the 19th of September be taken as read and confirmed. But I have some, thank you, Councillor Haig, thank you, Councillor Hughes. Has anybody got any comments or questions about the minutes of the last meeting? No, well, in this case, I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Aye. Anyone against? Then that is carried. We're on to number 4, which is a presentation. And I would just like my apologies first for not acknowledging the staff that are here tonight. Thank you for coming along, Mr. McCarthy. Thank you for Adam, Mr. Parsons, for coming, Mrs. Phoebe, and for Michael, our operations manager, Mr. May. So tonight it gives me great pleasure to acknowledge the position that our operations manager has taken on in our council, and I know that Michael has certainly made a fantastic impact with the outdoor staff and all the work that you've been doing within the Kentish and Latrobe municipalities, and we appreciate all the work that you've done in the short time that you've been here, and also that you have decided to take on the role of Deputy Municipal Coordinator for the Kentish Council. In accordance with the Emergency Management Act of 2006, you will occupy the position for a period of 4 years, commencing from the date of the certificate of appointment. And I'd like to present that to you, and thank you. I might put it this way so the General Manager can take a photo. There, and thank you very much for taking on that role with Mr. Magor, who is the, certainly he's the leader of this, but you'll be his deputy. And I know that the two of you will work very well together. And it's an important position because in times of emergency with floods or fire or any other natural disaster, it's really important to have somebody that's on the ground to be able to manage the emergency relief. So thank you for taking on that position. We wish you all the best. We're very pleased to have you on our both the Latrobe and Kentish councils.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I've been a very pleasure. I've really enjoyed the first 6 months here. Look forward to serving the community more and helping out. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We appreciate all your work. Good. Oh, it's always lovely to be able to have presentations like that happening on our council, so we're very happy about that. So we'll go on to number 5, which is notices of motion. Nils, any questions? We don't have at this stage. Response to questions raised at prior ordinary council meeting, nil. Public participation, nil. And public participation questions without notice is nil as well. So number 10, we have the planning authority. So in accordance with clause 25 of the local government regulation in 2015, I will advise that the council will now be acting as a planning authority. And tonight we have a development application for 1420 Cradle Mountain Road, Moena, and we are in receipt of an application for a proposed container structure retrospective for the purposes of a home-based business at 1420 Cradle Mountain Road, Moena. We do have a recommendation on page 31, and the recommendation is a report by the planning officer for this development be received and the council approve the application subject to the following conditions. There are 10 conditions. Could I have someone to move that, please? Thank you, Councillor Hughes. Thank you, Councillor Lane. I'm going to open it now for questions and discussion and hand it over to Mr. McCarthy, our planning officer, who's going to take us through this particular application. Thank you, Mr. McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, councillors. So to simplify what we have just said, it is a placement of a 40-foot container for the purposes of an art gallery that is of a small enough scale to be considered a home-based business. So it is partially retrospective, being that the container is placed on the site, but the remainder of the use has not yet commenced. You'll see in my documents, my description, and the site plan that the container is placed at the front of the lot, basically near the corner of Cradle Mountain Road and Lake Gardner Road. So as I say, the container is due to be fitted out, which is as shown on the elevation plans, but none of that yet has occurred yet either. So basically it's just this container sitting there currently with a bit of an access that's been built. As I understand, there's some more approvals to get through the road authority with that, but there's no major red flags proposed, provided it's done to a suitable standard as approved by the relevant manager at the time, most likely Mr. Parsons. We did have one representation, which was a nearby lot that was concerned that parking would occur in the council road reserve and potentially on their property, being a recent victim of a fire within the last 2 years. So we've noted that and placed some strict conditioning on to say that all parking must occur on the site. You'll see that there's quite a few conditions. Most of those are to enforce the requirements of a home-based business, given number of employees, where goods can be displayed for sale, parking, as I just mentioned, and then obviously it has to be a principal place of residence for the operator, otherwise it couldn't be a home-based business. So I get a lot of questions from both communities that they have this grand idea that they could run an office from a residence but not actually live there. So this is definitely the operator is going to live on the site. So we don't have that concern with this one. The main discretion was a reduction in frontage setback. And then if we look at page 26, we see that whilst it is 17 metres, so 3 metres in from the permitted setback, the existing vegetation on the property basically deems it invisible. So the container structure isn't what's really noted for prominence on this. There's another component to it, being that they've got a part of a tree that's sort of fallen out, so a branch as they refer to it, but I think it's more significant than just a small branch that we can envision when you say the word branch. They want to place that at the front of the site and have it as a painted blue. So that's a multinational movement which has got thousands of trees around, mainly Australia, but also international. So yeah, that one will be a little bit prominent, but for good reason, and adds to the vibe, so to speak, of the art and murals around the rest of the Kentish municipality. Happy to take questions.
Open it up for questions or comments, please, while Mr. McCarthy's here.
Yeah, just a question then, Mr. McCarthy. So the reason why it's here tonight, is it because it needs a retrospective approval, or is it because there's a representation made against it?
So the reason it's discretionary is for the reduction in frontage setback and the signage. The reason it's here is because of the representation. we do quite a few retrospective DAs. I do commend the applicants in the sense that our compliance officer did send a letter and they made contact straight away. So there is a misconception with shipping containers that you can just place them on the site with no relevant approvals. That's not actually the case, but yeah, we'll give them the benefit of the doubt that they didn't know and acted upon it once they were notified by council that they had to seek some approvals.
Right. Other questions? Yes, Councillor Coates.
Thank you. Mr. McCarthy, could you describe the access arrangements? I mean, there's another road in there that you can see in that photograph, but there's a gate on it. And so is that access actually formed?
The front access is formed, but not yet approved by the road authority. So the application, the wording of the site suitability clause is, does the lot have an approved access? And the answer to that question is yes. And the reason that the conditioning is on there is because it says that the eastern, I actually noted that there's an error in part of the report, but it doesn't alter the conditioning. The easternmost vehicular access is not yet approved by the road authority, but that will be the access that they use once it is approved. So that is the one that you would have seen, Councillor Slates, if you have been up.
Yeah.
But yeah, they'll have to see some relevant approvals through the road authority, but there is an approved access to the site. So no more consideration from the planning, but still a couple more approvals to get.
Thank you.
Any other questions about this development application? Don't have anything. There were a couple of, as I read it through, there were a couple of questions that I had, but as I looked at the recommendation, I think it was that you've got to be able to drive in and drive out, no backing in and no backing out, but that was all addressed, and to make sure that there was parking on the premises. And I think that's very important, because when you look at the picture, you know, it's very close to the main road, and so you don't want cars parking up and down the main road.
That's right.
So it has to be really careful for the safety of other road users that there's parking actually on the premises. So that allayed my questions there. So anybody else got anything they would like to ask? I think it's good also that, you know, we've got another business that's going to be set up in the Kentish municipality, and as the Economic Development Committee are working in that particular field of council, we're always looking at and encouraging people to be setting up businesses. So if an application comes here, we like to look at it and assess it accordingly. So that's really good. Any questions? All right, then I don't think there's any other questions. So we do have a recommendation on page 31. And the recommendation is that we receive and approve the application subject to the following conditions. We have a mover and a seconder. All those in favour? No. Anyone against? Then that is carried. Thank you very much, Mr. McCarthy, for your time and for the work that's gone into that development application, and working with the applicants too, because they like to make sure they're putting their right application in. Thank you. So we shall now go on to number 11. First of all, we have to cease as a planning authority. So we have a recommendation that council cease to act as a planning authority. Could I have someone, Councillor Hay, Councillor Cassidy? All those in favour? Anyone against? Then that is carried. Right, we'll go on to number 11, which is the Development and Regulatory Services Department. And we have a Building Department report for September 23, and we have a recommendation that the report by the Manager of Development and Regulatory Services concerning Building Department report for September 2023 be received. Could I have someone to move that? Councillor Richards and Councillor Haig. I'll open it up for questions or any comments that anyone would like to make about that report. Anyone got a comment or a question that they would like to ask?
Comment, I think it's great, these graphs now, compared to where it was a few years ago. So
looking at the graph.
yeah,
Yes.
Look at it instantly and sort of compare. So
Yes, that's right. And, you know, I think it was in the dwellings, we've certainly got a building application there notifications, so Railton and Rural Resource there. So I think 480,000, that's still sort of an economic drive within our community. So that's really good. So yes, Councillor Hughes.
Probably next few months from that, there's a new building that's going on down at corner of Albert and Spring Street.
Oh, yes.
And I was talking to the developer and that there is, he reckons about over $4 million worth going down there.
Oh, well, that's very exciting. Yeah, that's...
And also it's a new dairy probably going out of Cables Road as well.
Right. Mm-hmm. So certainly a lot of investment going on in our town. That's great. All right, well, we have a mover and a seconder. If there are no more questions, I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Anyone against? Then that is carried. So we'll go on to 11.2, which is Planning and Development Application Status Report. We have an attachment there for the report for 3 pages. We have a recommendation that the report by the Manager of Development and Regulatory Services concerning Planning and Development Application Status Report for September 2023 be received. Could I have someone to move that? Councillor Lane, Councillor Hughes. I'll open it for comments or questions. Anyone got anything that they would like to ask or any comments you would like to make? Nothing tonight? All right, then I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Anyone against? Then that is carried. All right, so we're number 12 now, which is the office of the General Manager. 12.1 is Kentish Park, Lake Barrington. We have a report written by our General Manager, Gerald Monson, and we have a recommendation on page 40. And the recommendation is that the report by the General Manager concerning Kentish Park, Lake Barrington be received. And there are 4 points there. So could I have someone to move that recommendation? Councillor Richards and Councillor Cassidy. I'll open it up for questions and comments and ask Mr Monson if he would like to speak to the report.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I think it's self-explanatory. This has been an ongoing issue for 3 or 4 years, and thought it was appropriate to bring it back to the public so they could note the changes. We're coming up to the camping season, and councillors probably recall a couple of years ago when it was closed, it was quite controversial. I recently met with the Mersey Forth Recreation Management Committee. They strongly supported the park being reopened, particularly with the forthcoming events at Lake Barrington, and it's an area for oversupplied camping. There's a big event, the Masters event next year, and then a national event in 2025. We've also got the new Spirits coming on, which will also have extra capacity and bands and people coming to Tasmania. So they thought it was a priority for it to be back open. So there's 4 recommendations there. One is that the Mayor issues a press release just to let the public know about the change. We did receive a grant funding of $150,000 under the Recreation, Fishing and Camping Facilities Grant Program to improve facilities at Kentish Park. We haven't taken up that grant, so we're just noting that we won't take that up. Council was going to put $110,000 in the budget, so that will become available for something else. And the Parks and Wildlife are requested to address the safety concerns with camping at Kentish Park and reopen the area to overnight camping. And the 4th recommendation is that all future inquiries in relation to Kentish Park be directed to Parks and Wildlife Property Services on that number. I have spoken to them and let them know that the issue was going to be discussed in an open council meeting. It may get some coverage, and that the Mayor most likely would be issuing a press release. So it's just seeking approval of these recommendations, Madam Mayor, to move forward.
Right. Questions for General Manager, or if anything you're not sure about? Councillor Blankhorn.
Mr General Manager, so will council staff be still taking a bit of an upkeep, so to speak, tidy up of the area, like, because it still will be used as a day use area, no doubt, like it won't be changed, actually chained off to the public, no doubt. So will we be actually sort of monitoring a little bit during the day, like?
It's not council's intention. The lease has been the title's been transferred back to Parks and Wildlife. It'll be up to them to manage it. They've requested some of the infrastructure that we've got there, skip bin, etc., to be removed. We will continue to maintain the road in. That's on our road list. We're also looking to Hydro to relinquish the lease on the rest of the area around the pontoons, etc. So it's not council's intention that we'd be doing maintenance in the area. That would go back to Parks and Wildlife.
So as a follow-up to that, would that mean if the rubbish bins need to be clean, emptied and all that would all be up to Parks and Wildlife to do all that?
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's unfortunate it's got to this stage,
Yes.
Madam Mayor. We did meet with representatives of the government on 2 occasions.
Yes.
In the end, we agreed to transfer the title back.
That's right.
They accepted it. So they will now become responsible
for it in all areas. That's right. Okay. Yes, Councillor Blinkhorn.
Supplementary question then, like with the recommendation, I think that the very wise of us as council to actually to make signage that makes us non-obligative to any of the rubbish removed, because I'm sure that if there is rubbish that is piling up down there, that they'll be making a phone call to the council. So I think we'd probably look at get some signage down there and direct all correspondence to Parks and Wildlife.
I guess another recommendation, Madam Mayor, if someone wanted to move an amendment, would be that Parks and Wildlife be requested to install appropriate signage detailing the management of the area.
Right. So could I have someone to move that amendment, please? Councillor Hughes and Councillor Haig. All those in favour? Thank you. Well, that then now becomes the motion. And so we have 5 points to go with that recommendation now, including that number 5 that our General Manager just included. So we have a new motion now with 5 points. Any other questions? Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, just before I do that, I commend Councillor Blinkhorn. That's a very good idea. Yeah. The point 3, Parks and Wildlife are requested to address the safety concerns with camping at Kentish Park and reopen it. I was quite concerned when I saw that, because I thought maybe we shouldn't have a view about whether we should be encouraging camping there or anything in the future. But I've softened a little bit on it. But I'm certainly happy to, or if it wasn't in there about addressing the safety concerns, I'd be very concerned about that motion. But it just sort of rings a few warning bells with me that we're asking them to do what we couldn't, what varying government departments wouldn't let us do, I'm just uncomfortable with it.
Thank you. You've got a comment?
I could add, Madam Mayor, that it's not that council said they wouldn't do it. Council said they weren't prepared to spend the money on it unless they could change the requirement to charge for the area. So it'd be interesting to see if Parks and Wildlife take it over, and every indication is that they will take it over, whether they will charge, because they certainly have many campsites around Tasmania where people don't pay. But then the request came from as I said, the Mersey Forth Recreation Management Committee. They recommended in the last minutes that that they be requested to open it up again.
And I'd just like to make a comment there that it says to address it, not to completely do it, but to address the safety. And I think that's come because of the accident that happened nearly 2 years ago, that safety does become a priority. So I guess that that would be one of the reasons behind that particular point in the recommendation, because it's really important that they do address it. Okay, any other comments or questions anyone would like to make? Right. Councillor Lane.
I'd like to ask, how are we going to advertise all of this change? What sort of social media, or how will we let the general public start to know it's under the new auspice, with great questions about answers, or I just wonder how, I guess maybe we have to wait until they figure out what is their
Well,
plan.
that was that's the recommendation includes the press release, so hopefully
Yeah.
that will be picked up. But this has been quite a community issue over a number of years. I would have thought the press could pick this up, which would then get attention and people would note the change, but the press release can also go on council's website,
Yeah.
Facebook page.
Yes,
Yes.
just so our residents know.
So that's the press release to actually to address this whole issue there. And hopefully it'll be on the website and on their Facebook page. Right. Any other questions or comments? Well, if there aren't, I will put it to the vote. All those in favour? Aye. Anyone against? Then that is carried. And thank you for the report, Mr. Modson.
And I think Mrs. Shaw, who did a lot of the background research to bring it all together.
Good, thank you there, Mrs. Shaw. So we'll go on to number 13, which is Corporate and Business Services Department. 13.1 is the finance report, and we have an attachment here for the finance report. So we have a recommendation that the financial report for the period ending the 30th of September 2023, as provided by the accountant, be received. Could I have someone to move that? Councillor Cassidy, Councillor Dickinson. So I shall hand it over to Mrs. Phoebe. So you're in the chair for this one, Mrs. Phoebe.
Yeah, thank you. As noted in the summary in your report, there were only really minor variances to note. The income, there's a net difference slightly above the year-to-date budget of 11,000, and an explanation there as to why that difference is the same with the year-to-date expenses. There's a net variance of 42,000, unfavourable timing variance. The capital expenditure, there are notations there against each of the projects. There's not a lot of movement there yet in that area. A lot of the projects are sort of under design or being planned. So hopefully in the next 3 months, there'll be some more movement on those. The rates collection is sitting at 2.735 million, which is better than this time last year. Again, I think some of that was probably the timing variance from what the rates being out a bit later last year. And the closing cash investments are sitting at 11.68 million. So happy to take any questions.
Any questions from any councillors? Councillor Hughes.
Yeah, I noticed the West Nook Road's been finished and that there's been rumours floating around that cost us $500,000. I don't think it did. And what was the actual figure on that one?
Yeah. Otherwise, we take that on
I
notice.
will take that on notice, but I understand there's still some line
There's a
to
line
be done as well. So, and there probably would be some overhead allocations that still haven't been processed. So I'll certainly make a note of that and come back to council with that final figure.
And also, I'm quite pleased that it has been done. There's always been a danger there, especially moving trucks and that you have to get off from the footpath there. So it's really approved it.
Yes. Yeah. That's excellent. Yeah, very thankful to have that walkway along West Nook Road. It's great. Councillor Richards.
Yeah, just a question. The late or non-payment of rates that where we entered into agreement with 2 or 3 property owners, are they still being met at this stage, you know, like what the agreements they come to?
I couldn't give you an answer off the top of my head, but I can certainly follow that up as well. That would be my understanding that should be occurring, but I'll double check for sure.
Thank you for that. Thank you, Councillor Richards. Anyone? Councillor Twaits.
Thanks. Yeah, I've got another question about the capital works. East Victoria Street has had some work recently on, is it drainage? Does that get a line in the capital?
That one there is actually operational works.
Right. Okay.
Currently, so.
Yeah. Very neat job. And now I was looking for it here because I didn't know anything about it, and I was asked, what are they doing down there? And I couldn't, explain. But got to hand it to you. It's a neat job. Yeah. So, thank you.
Good, thank you. Thank you, Councillor Twaits. Any other questions?
Sorry.
Yes, one more question.
I did mean to comment on the incredible turnaround on the interest rates.
Yes.
We all know, but when you think that it's only 12 months ago and we were getting zero interest, basically.
Yep.
And now it's around 5% or better. It's quite amazing.
Yes, that's excellent. Yeah, 5.21 up to.
So it's good handling by the staff there too. Good rate.
Excellent. Good. Thank you for those comments. Anyone else got any questions or comments about the financial statement? Oh, well, if there's no other comments or questions, I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Anyone against? Then that is carried. Thank you, Mrs. Phoebe, for taking the chair and talking us through that. Appreciate your work there. 14, Infrastructure and Assets Department, nil Operation Department, nil Information. We have council forums. So the General Manager's comments about a council forum, which was held on the 3rd of October, and we had 4 subjects that we discussed there, from the emergency management presentation, Kentish LPS, review of start time of council meetings, and the selection committee for the General Manager position, Kentish Council representatives. So we have a recommendation that information on topics discussed at the 3rd of October council forum be received. Can I have someone to move that? Councillor Dickinson, Councillor Richards. And are there any comments that anyone would like to make? Questions? In that case, I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Anyone against? Then that is carried. We have the delegates' report. So we have a recommendation that the delegates' reports be received and noticed. Could I have somebody, Councillor Haig, Councillor Twaits? So I've got a list of things that I've been attending over the month of September. Another busy month, lots of things on, but it's been really positive, and it's good to be out there representing the Kentish municipality and making connections and networking with, with other mayors, with other people in the community. Councillor Lane, have you got any comments about what you've been doing?
I send around information to my fellow councillors about my meetings, but I'd also like to mention during the next month we have the 20th anniversary of Mural Fest coming up, which will be amazing. So if anybody, make sure you continue to promote that and get people to come and enjoy the art that's planned this month.
It's painting start on the 6th of November. So that's going to be exciting. Free entry into the mural park. It is this year. Yes.
A lot of fun activities and art things going around town as well. So it'll be plenty of things to do.
And it wasn't an easy decision to make, Councillor Twaits, because the money that comes in at the gate certainly helps with the overall costs of Mural Fest, but we basically said, no, we want people to just come in and enjoy the whole festivities of the week, and we don't want to be charging. They can pay to vote and make a gold coin donation. And so that we've been very proactive in getting sponsorship from Eurofest, and we've been able to meet our budget. So it's been really good. So a little bit of extra work to get sponsorship to cover the money that we would have made on the gate. So we're looking forward to that. So councillors, is anybody anything that they would like to report? Well, we'll go around the table.
Yes.
Councillor Dickinson.
Just like to mention that I attended the Barrington Hall AGM, and as councillors know, there's a lot of work been done on that hall. The committee would like to pass on their thanks to council for the support that has been provided. and also they're impressed by the work done by the builders. And I think the expectation at the moment is that the hall should be ready to be used within a week or so. And hopefully we'll be able to update that very soon.
Very soon. Still waiting on the electricity?
That's been done, I believe.
Oh, that's been done. So just got to be signed off on that.
Yeah. Very, very close though, isn't it?
Maybe
Today.
it may be appropriate that Mr. Parsons gives a quick update.
Yes, so
You want to sit here? They hadn't met Adam, he's the acting.
I was just going to say, thank you, Mr. Parsons. He's acting in the position of team leader for infrastructure and assets. Welcome to that position while Mr. Magle's away, and thank you for all the work you'll be doing, and we'll look forward to what you've got to tell us.
Yeah, so only in relation to the Barrington Hall itself, we're hoping to have everything tidied up by this afternoon. The electrician had about half a day's work to finalise and had to be called off to another urgent job. So he has promised us that it will be done by the end of the week, and then we'll be ready to hand over and be used by the community.
It'll be very excited. Yes.
And the same builders have also said that the Wilmot Hall roof is just about complete as well. So it's only a few flashings to go on there. That should be by the end of the week as well. So
oh, wonderful.
We'll start to see a few more capital projects.
Yes, sign off. That's what we like to see.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Thank you. That's very exciting. I think that is one project that we're really happy about, was the Barrington Hall, because, you know, there was a situation that we thought it was going to be just a non-event anymore, wasn't going to be used. We were thinking outside the square, what could we do with the land, the hall? But there was just that passionate group of people that just wanted it to stay there and to be opened. And yeah, through a wonderful process, we were able to get it where it is today. So we're really excited about that. So, and thank you for your input into it as well.
Thank you.
Good.
Thanks, Adam.
Right. So thank you for that. Yep. Councillor Hughes.
Last Monday, we travelled to Burnie, the UTAS, and it's a very warming experience what we've seen down there. And the building and that is magnificent. Has been done. And we particularly took notice of the dummies up there where they're doing the training, the nursing and that, and it's one of the state leading training areas. And also too, they're very environmental with the fairy penguins. And they've got the tunnels underneath the path there come off the beach. It's all enclosure, and where the dogs can't get out, and the fairy penguins can nest in that area, which is very good.
Yeah, no, and that's what the university are doing, all that infrastructure there to save the penguins, and they've got a little shed there, a viewing platform as well there that you can go into, but it's all going to be secure, and they're going to try and work out a way in which they can encourage the penguins to come into that particular area where it will be safe for them. So I think the university, as you say, Councillor Hughes, very environmentally friendly and looking for ways to help the...
And I did got a comment from my son. He's a cabinet maker by trade and joiner. And did you see the doors I made down in the windows? So
yes.
I did particularly take that as a door, Tasmanian oak, which is a very good thing.
Yeah, the whole building's just beautiful up there.
Magnificent, yeah.
Good, thank you for that. Yes, 4 of us went up to Burnie, so Councillor Richardson, Councillor Cassidy and Councillor Hughes and myself went up there last Monday, and it was a great visit. So next one, Councillor Trates.
Thank you. I'm pleased to report that the Mount Royal Land Care Group has won the Tasmanian Land Care Group of the Year award. That was good. Yeah, for
Tasmania.
So,
that's exciting. That's a clap.
That's wonderful.
Can I ask a question? And did they have to put a submission in for somebody to come and assess it, or how did they win it?
Yeah, I wasn't part of that process, but right. I understand that the Secretary was asked to put in an application.
Wonderful.
So, yeah,
and they won the Tasmanian Award.
Yeah, and Kylie Tune from Lorena.
Yes.
She went down to attend the full day conference, and there was a dinner that night, and a presentation was made. So
that was in Hobart.
No, it was in Tribana.
Oh, down at Tribala. Wow. So will we get some information about that? Because I'd like to really acknowledge that when I write my mayor's message.
You're being given a sneak preview there, and a media release is on its way.
On its way, good. I'd really like to be able to acknowledge that because the council is very supportive of the Mount Roland Land Care Group, and Councillor Lane and I attended the AGM with Councillor Twaits, and they've gone from a little group of about 6 up to about 70 or 100.
109.
109 members of that group now. So they've, you know, and I think it's a professional way they go about their work and the enthusiasm to look after the environment, and they're all there to help one another. They have great working bees, wonderful days out there doing weed control or planting, and they are all there ready to work together and have a great time together with what they have to do. So we're very thankful that that's working in our community. Any other delegate reports? All right. Yes, Councillor Blencorn.
I turned up at the Cement Australia 100-year anniversary set up at the King's Hall. Yeah, a great collection of photo memorabilia and lots of documents, and it was very well taken by the community. I was talking to the production manager. I think they were getting over 100 a day down through there, and some of the photos were unbelievable. You know how far they've come from horse and cart, pick and shovel virtually in the early 1920s. It's unbelievable how far we've come in 100 years, and I think they're looking forward to trying to get some of the photos and some of the memorabilia, probably looking at Kentish Museum or something. So hopefully something will eventuate down the track, because, it's a great asset, and I think people like to come and have a look at photos and memorabilia. I think it's something that's worthwhile. And
so I called in the last Friday, and I had a chat to Gary Bissett, who's been one of the main instigators of this 100-year celebration, and he mentioned to me about the Kentish Museum. I said, I don't think we're going to be able to fit all this memorabilia in the Kentish Museum, but he's really concerned about where it will all go because it's so valuable. I'm thinking that when we get the museum, we're already working in that area with a curator, that maybe we could even set a room aside or part of a room aside for Cement Australia, and maybe rotate the display every now and then, and they might be able to store it down at Cement Australia. So I think it's something that we could certainly investigate down at the museum. Not the whole thing, we just would not, they filled up the whole King's Hall. There's no way we can fit all that down at the museum. So it's something certainly that we can investigate and see what we can do. Councillor Twaits.
It is a significant industry in.
It is.
I wonder if we shouldn't have a picture of it in our foyer. Some link to acknowledge their continued presence.
It may be worth, Madam Mayor, just looking at the public buildings we've got. Quite often you see, buildings, whether it's a green hall or some other hall, and you rotate some of it around. I don't even know, so I don't know whether they've got spare walls, but I know sometimes you go into old hotels and they got pictorial history, and it generates quite a bit of interest itself. So it may be worth just, before we say, no, we can't fit it in, just look at what we may have that could surprise you. Yeah,
that's right. Good. All right, and I think we could investigate a photo in the foyer too. I think that would be something that we could do, because, as you say, it is one of our biggest industries here in Kentish, so we could look into that, because there were some beautiful photos down there. One of the historic photos, we could just borrow it from them and put it in the foyer, so we might be able to get hold of Gary Bissett and see what he's got to offer us. We'll investigate that one. All right, any other comments anyone's got to make? All right, well, we've got to move in a second to the delegates' reports be received and noted. And no other questions or comments. I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Anyone against? Then that is carried. Council decision status report, recommendation that the September 2023 status report of open council meeting decisions be received. There was the report, there was a 7-page attachment there. So has anyone, I'd ask someone to move this recommendation be received. Someone to move it. Thank you, Councillor Hughes. Councillor Richards, any comments about the status report? No comments today? Okay, then I'll put it to the vote then. All those in favour? Anyone against? And that is carried. Committees of council. So we've got the Kentish Tree Planting Committee meeting, which was held on the 18th of September. A recommendation that the unconfirmed minutes of the Kentish Tree Planting Committee meeting held on the 18th of September 2023 be received. Could I have someone, Councillor Hay? Councillor Dickinson. So I'll open it for comments or questions. Anyone got a comment about the Kentish Tree Planting Committee minutes? No one?
Just a
Councillor Thwaites.
The Westnell Road, is there any tree planting planned for along there, sort of in between the road and the footpath? Because
I'll pass it over to Councillor Hay.
it's very exposed.
Not at this stage, but we'll definitely take it to the next meeting.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
We've been, I mean, I guess there's some sort of barrier planned for in there, but if some.
We'll take it to the next meeting.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, we've had a discussion about along Westnell Road where the new pathway, is that what you're talking about there? There's a weed along there. So, yeah, I know Councillor Hughes' brother was discussing it with me about a weed along there that possibly could be sprayed. So we've talked about that today in our meeting. So we're looking into that one. Okay, any other comments that anybody would like to make? So we're talking about the Kentish Tree Planting Committee. Yes.
May I make another comment? It's great to see when you line up all of the achievements of this committee just over a few years now. It's really starting to make a difference.
It certainly is.
Yeah, it's very pleasing.
Thank you for that comment. Yeah, so keep up the good work, those people that are on the tree planting committee now. So certainly beautified our town, that's for sure. But you do look right around the municipality anyway. It's not just Sheffield, so that's really important to note. All right, no other comments or questions? Yes, Councillor Blenkhorn.
Tree planting committee itself. I noticed that down at Rowan, there's on the some of our main entrances, some of the trees that are there now that have been there for so long, they just haven't, they've got lichen growing over them, and they look like they're half dead. There's a possibility that you could look at replacing some of the older established trees that aren't doing real good. I noticed you go back to Rowan.
We can definitely have a chat about it.
Yeah. I did sort of mention that some time ago, but yeah, it just seems to be a bit harder down at Rowan. I think the soils aren't real likeable to growing, or clay, I think, but yeah, some of them just lichen and they're just not really.
Yeah, through them out. I mean, before you take them out, you may get team leader Mr. Blackwood Beatty to see whether they need a good feed or something, because it takes a long time to get to that size. It may be worth just looking at.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Yeah. And you do go down and visit the areas and do your round staff and see what needs to be done. So that's excellent. And I think we certainly will acknowledge our previous mayor, Tim Wilson, for his vision about the trees in the town, and it's just grown from there. So we're very thankful for that vision and the willingness of other people to come on board to see this project completed. All right, well, we have a recommendation. We have a mover and a seconder. If there are no more questions, I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Aye. Anyone against? Then that is carried. Council Joint Authorities and other committees, nil. Urgent business, nil. Closed meeting, recommendation that the following items be discussed in closed session. Could I have someone to move that? Councillor Cassidy, Councillor Thwaites. Any comments about those items there to be discussed in closed session? Then I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Aye. Anyone against? Then that is carried. Then I will just declare the open session of the council meeting is now closed.